expedition approached Las Hurdes by way of Alberta. This village is the gateway to the region, and two skulls over the church door seem to preside over its destiny. Most of the houses are 3 stories high, and their architecture is rare in Spain. The village generally retains a medieval appearance. Over the doors is an inscription, Ave Maria, Immaculate Conception without sin. On the day of our arrival, we see the village women combing themselves. The men are in their best clothes. When we ask why, we are told to go to the church square for the annual celebration of its strange and barbaric ceremony. Before the gathered crowd, each newlywed man must tear off the head of a rooster suspended by its legs from a rope stretched across the street. Successful, each celebrant carries the head through the streets and offers wine to the entire village. Among the crowd is this child, richly decorated with silver medals. Although these are Christian pendants, we cannot but compare them to the religious charms of barbaric tribes in Africa and Oceania. By 7 in the evening, everybody in Alberta is drunk with wine. We leave the village and see before us an entanglement of mountains. Here are spread the villages of Las Hurdes, 52 towns with a total population of 8,000. We descend into the valley of Butre Carl. Here lives an old man surrounded by a few servants. He is the last of an order of Carmelite monks who, over 4 centuries, lived in this valley and preached in the larger villages of the region. Now he protects the property of his order and guards vestiges of the valley's prehistoric civilization, accomplished cave paintings of men, gods, and bees. But toads, adders, and lizards are the only actual inhabitants of these ruins. The vegetation in the valley is extremely rich. Here one can catalog more than 200 species of tree, but 5 kilometers away we shall find only heath and a few fruit trees able to survive. The convent is surrounded by 8 kilometers of wall, which precludes the assault of wolves and of wild boars. Inside are the ruins of 18 hermitages, each marked by a cypress or two. This village is located in one of the poorest valleys of the region. The white building, newly built, is the school. Here in the streets and on the slope of the mountain, we can see the inhabitants at their daily rounds. It is strange that in all the time we were in the villages of Las Hurdes, we never heard a single song. At some times of the year, a miserable little stream comes down from the mountain through the center of the village. During the summer, there is no water other than this, and the inhabitants use it despite the disgusting filth it carries. The stream is used for all purposes. Three young girls eat a piece of bread soaked in water. Bread was unknown here until recently. This piece came from the school teacher, who generally forces the children to eat it in his presence. If the children were to bring it home, their parents, who do not know what bread is, would take it away from them. All children are asked to come to class. These uncombed kids walk barefoot to school. Their clothes are brought back from Castile and Andalusia by adults who migrate there to beg in the summer and exchange their takings for potatoes in the fall. To these starving children, the teacher explains that the sum of the angles in a triangle equals 2 right angles. In some villages of Las Hurdes, most of the children are bidus. These bidus are abandoned children got by the women of the Hurdes from the welfare department, which has an office 2 days' walk from here. The government pays 15 pesetas a month for support of the children, but on this miserable amount lives the entire family. Until recently, the industry of the bidus was prohibited to the urdanos. We discover an unexpected and shocking picture on the classroom wall. Why is this absurd picture here? We find a book of morality on a table and open it at random. One of the best pupils can write from memory, on request, one of its maxims. Respect the property of others. In this relatively wealthy valley grow walnut, cherry, and olive trees. This is the village of Nemoral. The crusts that are visible between the trees look like the back of a fabulous animal, but they are nothing else than the roofs of the village. At the entrance to the town, we are welcomed by a choir of idiots. Most of the inhabitants are sick and live in misery. Goiter is a common illness of the high Hurdes. This woman is not yet 32 years old. We see a young girl lying in a lonely street, and we ask the mayor, who accompanies us, what is wrong with her. He says that the child has not moved for 3 days, is complaining, and must be ill. One of our friends examines her inflamed gums and throat, but unfortunately can do nothing for her. When we came back to this village 2 days later and asked about her, we were told she had died. What do these people eat? Only potatoes and beans, and not always that. Particularly during June and July, the staples of their diet are lacking. The only meat is pork. Once each year, the wealthy families, if we may call them that, slaughter a pig, and meat is available for 3 days. Olive trees grow in the most fertile areas, although the fruit is often destroyed by insects. Of all the animals, mountain goats are best suited to this terrain. Their milk is saved for the sick, who soak bread given to them by the beggars who bring it from outside. One eats goat meat only when one of the animals is killed accidentally. This happens sometimes when the hills are steep and there are loose stones on the footpath. The principal agricultural product here is honey, although the hives do not belong to the Urdanos. They are loaned by the Albercans for the winter, but the season is much milder here than in the neighboring province of Salamanca. The heath honey is very bitter. The hives must be returned each spring. One day we encounter this donkey with its load of 2 returning hives. Later, as we are eating quietly, we hear someone calling for help. The Urdanos tied the donkey, a hive fell, and the animal was attacked by the bees. One hour later, the animal was dead. A month before our arrival, 3 men and 11 mules were killed the same way. The months of May and June are the hardest. The Urdanos have finished their supply of potatoes by then, so they eat cherries. If they wait for them to ripen, they will starve, so they eat them green, which gives them dysentery. Then migration starts. Men who are not ill, whom fevers did not touch, leave for Castile or Extremadura to try and work in the harvest. We meet some of these caravans made up of 10, 30, 50 men without money or bread on the trek after work. Several days later, we meet another group coming back as they went without money or bread. Now we want to report how the Urdanos prepare the fields in which their potatoes grow. They choose land near the river, and helped by their wives and relatives and friends, they clear it of heath. The tools are primitive, a pick and a shovel. The plow is unknown in most of the region. When the land is cleared, a wall is built of stones piled without mortar to protect the field from winter floods. Then they go into the mountains to gather humus and bring it a sack at a time to the field. The first-year harvest is plentiful, but the humus soon dries up and becomes sterile because of a lack of nitrogen in the soil. Often the winter floods destroy in a few moments the work of a whole year. Because they lack both money and domestic animals, the Ordanos have no fertilizer and have to seek a substitute in the mountains. The pathways are difficult and shoes are rare. The best fertilizer the Ordanos can make comes from the dry leaves of the arbutus shrub. It is rare in the mountains, but when the Ordanos find a cluster, they fill their sacks with the precious leaves. Snakes are common here, and one peasant was bit a few days ago. The serum is not deadly by itself, but the Ordanos, trying to cure it, infect themselves and die. The peasants return and spread the leaves inside their homes. Here will sleep people and animals. The leaves will rot and in a few months will be usable fertilizer. The utensils in these houses are few and primitive. The smoke escapes as best it can. There are no chimneys or windows. During the summer, the rivers are almost dry, and malaria, caused by the Anopheles mosquito, is everywhere. Virtually all the Ordanos carry the disease. Mosquito larvae must come to the surface of the water to breathe. If they lie parallel to the surface, they are larvae of Anopheles. If they lie perpendicular to the surface, they are common mosquito larvae and are harmless. The adult Anopheles inhabits all the homes of the region. Here is the result of their sting: a man attacked by fever, seated near his house. As we go through the streets, we see many ill people. This woman, lying on her balcony, does not even realize our presence. Balconies of any kind are rare in most of the villages of the Hurdes. Midgets and cretins are common in the high Hurdes. Generally, the families use them as goat herds. Some are dangerous and will either flee from strangers or attack them with stones. One sees them coming back from the mountains at sunset. We had a difficult time trying to photograph the idiots. The degeneracy of these people is caused principally by hunger, by lack of hygiene, and by incest. The smaller one you can see here is 28 years old. Here is another type of idiot. Another idiot. They are almost wild. We were able to show them thanks to the help of an Hurdano friend who amused and calmed them while we worked. One day we see a group of people in front of a house. A child has just died. The mother. Death is a rare event which can be recorded in this miserable village. Women run in crowds to the dead's house. Complications are involved in the transportation of the body. In many villages there is no cemetery. This child had to be carried to Nemoral, and we decided to follow the body. The corpse was placed in a trough and carried for several hours through bushes. If the dead is an adult, the body is laced to a ladder and transported that way. You see the fording of a river with the body. This cemetery shows us that despite the great misery of the Hurdanos, their moral and religious ideas are the same as in other parts of the world. The tomb is marked by a stone or a piece of wood. The only luxurious thing that we saw in Las Hurdes were the churches. This one was in one of the poorest villages. A home among the most comfortable. There is the father, the son, the daughter-in-law, and 2 small children. The cut paper and the line of pot covers on the wall indicates a certain flair for interior design. In some villages, a woman walks the streets at night and chants of death. She shakes a bell and sometimes stops to say a prayer. The inhabitants of an Hurdano house usually live in the same room, but this house is an exception. The stable is on the ground floor. The kitchen and dormitory are upstairs. Occasionally, there is a bed. The Hurdanos sleep fully dressed during the winter and wear their clothes until they fall into rags. Here is what this woman says. There is nothing better to keep you awake than to think always of death, to say an Ave Maria for the sake of the soul of... After a stay of 2 months in Las Hurdes, we left the country.